So now, if you notice on this pattern, I did not insert that allowance. I'm not plotting that on this measurement. So the pleat I have in between the pattern is going to serve as the dart. So that is why I'm not plotting that. Now I have measurements on the chest level, I have measurements on the empire level, and I have measurements on the waist level. So now to the hemline, I will be inserting the hip circumference measurements on the hemline. Now I will be inserting quarter of the hip circumference measurements on the garment length. So quarter of the hip measurement I'm working with is 44 inches. So quarter of 44 is 11 inches, which I have it here. So I will be adding extra 2 inches in order to give room for free movement. Okay, so in total it's going to be 8 inches. So that is 2 here, 2 here, then on the back panel also 4 inches. So instead of this point, I'll be making use of this point. Okay, so in total here I have 13 inches. So the next step is to connect the points together. As you can see, I did not insert the hip level measurements. This is because it is not needed. This is a C&S garment. Hip area is not necessary. So by the time I'm connecting from the waist downward to the garment length, so automatically the hip area will come out. So with a stress ruler, I will be connecting from the waist level to the garment length point. So now I'll be connecting the 2 points together. Okay, so you can see what I'm having. This is a fitted C&S garment. If you don't want yours to be fitted, you want it very wide, all you need to do is just add ease to all your measurements from the chest to the empire level to the waist level. Then on the hemline as well, you can add as much as you want. So this will determine how wide your garment will be. But for fitted one, this is what I will be using. Okay, now before we move to the connection of the remaining side, I would like to show you how you can shape the hemline of your garment if you don't want it to be straight like this. So if you have it like this, it's going to give you something like an H shape. So if you don't want to have an H shape, so this is what you will do. Take the measurement you have from the waist to the hemline. So you can see what I'm having. Then the total length I have from waist on the straight side is 39.5 inches. So I will insert the same 39.5 inches on this line, so which is here. Okay, then I will shape that side with my curve ruler. So with this, I will not have it on a straight line. If you want it more curvy than this, all you need to do is just to add to this measurement. So what I have here is about half of an inch, so I can decide to take it off by 1.5 or 1 inch. Then I'll connect it like so. So can you see the difference? So that is how the hemline will look like. So now let's go to the connection of the remaining side. So in connecting the remaining side, I'll be connecting from the chest level to the under the bust level. But if you are not making use of the under the bust measurements, so all you need to do is just to connect from the chest to the waist. Then you will have something like this. So when you are making a C&S garment, you can make it as fitted as you want, because it's going to be with zipper at the center back. So unlike the celestial garment where we have the zipper by the side. So because of the zipper by the side, you have to make it free as much as possible. But this is a C&S garment, you can make it fitted. Okay, so this is what I'm having by the side. So from here to here, this is the under the bust. Now I have the front panel drafted out. So the last step is to add seam allowances around the pattern. Seam allowance is needed around the neckline in order to attach the collar. So half of an inch of seam allowance will be added on the neckline. So please don't joke with your seam allowances. It is very important. On the shoulder line as well, I will be adding half of an inch of seam allowance in order to join the front and the back panel together. On the armhole, half of an inch of seam allowance is needed. Then by the side, I will be adding 1 inch of seam allowance. On the hemline, I will be adding 2 inches as seam allowance. But because of the length of my pattern paper, I will be adding the hem allowance on the fabric. So guys, now I've added all my seam allowances and I will be showing you how to cut this out. When you are cutting, make sure you did not open up your pleats. Leave it folded like so. So I will be holding it together like so. Then I will cut on the shoulder line. Okay, so the same way I cut the shoulder line, that is the same way I will be cutting on the hemline, because after constructing the garment, this is how the pleat will be. If you open it up, you'll be having a shortage when you are pleating your garment. You can see the shape I have here, so you can see what I have here as well. So that is why you have to leave your pleats folded before you cut out. So I will continue cutting out my pattern. When I get to the hemline, I will not open up my pleat. I will leave it like so, hold it like so before cutting on the hemline. So guys, this is what I have after cutting out the front panel. So now we'll be moving to the drafting of the back panel. So guys, now it's time to draft the back panel. Here I have the center back line drawn out. So this line is the center back. Now, how do you want the center back to be? It all depends on your preference. But as for me, I will be making a pleat at the center back. So that is why I will be inserting extra inches, which is going to serve as the pleat allowance and the zipper allowance. Okay, so from the center back line, I will measure 1 inch forward. Then I will extend the line downwards to the hemline. 1 inch from the center back line forward. After measuring out the pleat allowance, then I'll be folding it towards the center back like so. So after folding, I will be having half of an inch for the pleat wideness. You can see here is the center back line. So I have half of an inch like so. So if you want your pleat wider than this pleat also will serve as ease for the back panel. Okay, don't forget I told you we'll be having a zipper from the neckline downward to the hip level. So from the hip or the waist level, that is where the pleat will start downward. So if I want the pleat wider, so I will just extend it to the edge of the pattern paper. So from this line to this edge, I have 2 inches. So if I want my pleats to be 1 inch wide, so which means you will be measuring 2 inches for your pleat allowance. So you can see what I'm having. So that is what I'll be doing right now. So I'll be folding this to the edge of the pattern paper. So guys, I folded in the pleat allowance. As you can see, this is what I have after folding. You can see from here to here, that's 2 inches. Okay, so you can either fold it inward or open it up like so. If you know you can get confused, just close it like so and tape it down. Okay, so this is going to be the center back now. So I will label this as the center back. In drafting the back panel, I will be using the front pattern as a template to construct the back pattern. Okay, so here is the center front. I will make sure the two edges are aligned properly like so. Then I will secure the two pieces together. Okay, so now I have the front pattern placed on the back pattern properly. Now I will be tracing out the shoulder line. I will trace out the armhole and I will trace out the side seam, after which I will remove the front pattern. Then I'll also transfer my vertical lines. Now I'll be tracing out my lines properly. So guys, I have my lines traced out clearly, as you can see. The shoulder line, the armhole, the side seam and the hemline. So now I'll be showing you how to draft the back neckline. So in drafting the back neckline, I will be maintaining the same neck width, which is 3 inches. So which is here, I will maintain what I have here. Okay, but for the depth of the neckline, it's not going to be as deep as the front neckline. So for the back depth, I will use 1 inch. So guys, now I have the shoulder line drawn out. So I will be maintaining the point I have as the neck width here. So for the neck depth, I will measure 1 inch downward. So this measurement has to be taken from the HPS. So this point is a HPS, that is the highest point shoulder. So which is the same thing as the neck width point. So from here downward, I measured 1 inch. Then I will square the line towards the center back. Okay, so on this line, I will measure the same 3 inches. Okay, so which is somewhere around here, because seam allowance has been added to the front neckline. Okay, so from the center back, I will measure 1.5 inches inward. So which is here. Then I will construct the neckline. So I will have the neckline constructed like so. So you can see what I'm having. Okay, so this is for the back neckline. Don't forget, on the front pattern, I have all my seam allowances added. So automatically here I have my seam allowance. On the armhole as well, I have my seam allowance. After drafting the back neckline, the next step is to confirm the measurement I have for the front and the back. So I'll be adding the two measurements together. I must have up to the neck circumference measurements I'm working with. This step is important because the garment is going to be with collar and the collar is going around the neckline. So I have to take this measurement so that I don't have excess or shortage around the neckline. So for the back neckline, I will take note of what I have here, which is 3.25, 3.25, and also for the front as well, So the measurement I have here is 4.25. So I'll be adding 3.25 together with 4.25, which I'll have 7.5 inches. So 7 inches, don't forget this is going to be in two places. So that is 15 inches. And because this is with seam allowance, extra half of an inch will be together after taking away the seam allowance. So which is okay for the neck circumference measurements I'm working with. The neck circumference measurement I'm working with is 15.5 inches. That is 15 and a half. And here I have 7.5, which is half of 15. But by the time I take out the seam allowance, I will end up having 15.5 inches. So this is what I will be using in drafting out the collar. So when we get to the construction level, I'll be showing you how to construct the collar. So now I will be shaping the center back in order to remove the bulge at the center back. So because this garment is going to be with zipper, so I can proceed in shaping the center back. So from the waist level, this is the waist level. From the waist level point, I measured half of an inch inward, which is here. Then I'll be connecting this point with a slightly curved ruler to the neckline point at the center back line. Don't forget this is a center back line. So I'll be drawing out a slightly curve around the waistline. As you can see, the curve ruler is facing towards the side of the pattern. So not much. I can just take it from the waist to the under the bust level. Then I will stop. And I will be making use of the straight ruler in order to connect to the neckline. Okay, so you can see what I'm having. Now I will be connecting from the waist point downward to somewhere around the hip level, just to meet up with the straight line I have below the waist level. So in doing this, I'll be making use of my straight ruler. So you can see what I'm having. So if you don't know how to position, you can just insert your hip level measurement. So you can insert your hip level measurement, but this is optional. I'll just pick this up like so, then connect it until I get a well connected point at the center back. Okay, you can see what I'm having. Then I will smoothen it up with my curve ruler. So you can see this shape is totally different from the shape we have over there. Now the next step is to remeasure the zipper allowance, because I've shaped the waistline. So what I have here is more than 2 inches. You can see what I have is more than 2 inches. So I'll be taking the measurement all over again. So what I have from the center back is 2 inches. I will mark the center. I will mark the 2 inches all over again. I will mark this. On the chest level, I will mark the same 2 inches. On the bust, 2 inches. So I'll be marking the 2 inches so that I still maintain the shape I have at the center back. Okay, so here 2 inches. So until I have it here. Okay, so now I have the center back shaped out. So what I have at the edges here, you can see the shape I drew out is no more needed. So I will trim it off. Okay, so you can see the shape I'm having at the center back is no more on a straight line. So I will be leaving it like so. then complete the construction when we get to the sewing level. So that is when I will be removing the exact value I want for the zipper allowance, because I cannot do this without splitting the lower part first. So now I will be cutting out the back pattern. Thank you guys for staying with me to this point. Join me in the next episode where we shall continue from where we stopped by cutting this pattern of fabric, drafting of the sleeve, the collar, and putting the pieces together to make a beautiful C&S garment using a reference image. Till we meet next time, always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.